from Uzbekistan? Yay! Anyone from Uzbekistan, please make some noise. As I expected, they never come to see me. Now, anyone who has been to Uzbekistan, make some noise. Yay! 2 people in the room. That's good enough for me. Great. Okay, for the rest of you, if you don't know much about Uzbekistan, don't worry. I'll give you some information. We border Tajikistan. Okay, I hope that clarifies. So I call myself by my nickname, Bek, because my real name is quite complicated. My full name is Ulug Bek, Bek Muhammedov. Airport security calls me, please step aside. I guess that's easier. But I don't blame airport security, no. When I look in the mirror, I see a slightly suspicious person. Not like a hostage situation suspicious, but more like, oops, I didn't know it can explode suspicious. That kind of suspicious. But honestly, I need to give a credit to Danish Airports. I never had problems in Danish Airports. I think Danish airport security is cool. Danish passport control is cool. In Uzbekistan, I always had to carry with me an ID everywhere because a policeman can come up to you and ask to show your ID. But I never have to do this in Denmark. But sometimes, I feel like Danes want to see my document when they shout, watch out, or be careful in Danish. What is watch out in Danish? Passport. It's just the way it sounds. I get PTSD. I remember my first day in Copenhagen. I was just a tourist. And like many tourists, I was walking on a bike lane without realizing it's a bike lane. And then suddenly, I hear someone shouting, passport! Then I was hit by a bike. I had to learn the hard way. So I like Danish airports, no problems there. And I like traveling. I also recently found that passengers with babies, they get a priority boarding. Sometimes they get a fast track at airport security. Honestly, I think that's the only good reason to have children. So I told my girlfriend, yes, I have a girlfriend. I told my girlfriend, we're gonna do this. We're gonna snatch a baby at the airport. And I like traveling. As you can see, I'm an ideal customer for any airline company. Especially Ryanair. I can fit inside the overhead compartment. I don't have to be there. Under the seat is also fine. I can travel very cheap. That's my point. Well, I'm obviously skinny. You know, a bit too much skinny. And sometimes it's, you know, it's tough to be that skinny. Have you ever been offered food by a homeless person? That happened to me in Denmark. And I told him, it's very nice of you, man, but I'm not gonna eat the sandwich now. So I ate it later in a train. It was a salmon sandwich. It was a good one. I also took his coffee. Well, it was a good day. It was. Actually, I'm so skinny, I weigh less than 50 kilo. Yeah, I know, sexy. I started doing a stand-up comedy here in Denmark actually 4 years ago to become more open and cheerful person. And now 4 years later, nothing has changed. Nothing. I'm still a boring person. Also at work, I work in a Danish company, and Every time we have a meeting, I would be the only one sitting in a dark corner, not saying anything, just watching and listening. Apparently that makes people uncomfortable. Also considering they didn't invite me to any of the meetings. No, they do invite me, and I like my Danish colleagues. All good here. And I like the Danish working environment, great. There's one thing though I still cannot get used to. But first of all, please clap if you work in an office environment. Nice. Now, I have a question for expats only, right? Do you guys also think, is it just me, or you also think that Danes have lunch too early? Yeah? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Like, I still, after so many years, I still cannot get used to it. I remember my first job in Denmark. Lunch was 12 o'clock, right? 12 o'clock. I'm not used to that. I always used to have lunch at 1 in Uzbekistan. I mean, but okay, not that hungry, but okay, I still always join them because I want to be part of the team. A couple of years later, I joined a different company. Lunch 11:30. All right. I mean, I'm not hungry, but I still join them. And then 2 years ago, I changed the department. So I joined Hillerod, same company, different department. And the first day, I asked them, "Do you guys also have lunch at 11:30?" And they were like, "No, don't worry. Lunch 11 sharp." What? 11 o'clock? 11 a.m.? Like, it's still breakfast time. How hungry you are. And it seems like the further away I'm from Copenhagen, the early is the lunch. So if I get a job somewhere in Kalundborg, I come to the office in the morning and they would be like, "Bek, we already had lunch." And I would be like, "No worries. I'll join the dinner at 2. Another thing that I noticed that Danes like to talk about weekends at work. They mention weekends a lot. On Thursdays, they start mentioning that the weekend is coming soon. Every Friday, I'm being asked the same unusual question. Are you ready for the weekend? Has anyone answered no to this question? And how do you get ready for the weekend? Like, do I need to register with my Meet ID somewhere? I don't know. But the most difficult time are Monday mornings. Because every Monday morning, I have to answer the same question. How was your weekend? I mean, it's a simple question. But in Denmark, it comes with a lot of responsibilities. You cannot just answer it was okay. No. You have to provide some convincing details. Because Danes, they always have interesting weekends. Their weekends are never the same. And they plan their weekends far in advance. And they expect the same level of greatness from you. Which I failed to achieve. One day they asked me, "Bek, what did you do during the weekend?" I said, "Netflix and shawarma." And they were like, isn't it the same thing you did last weekend? No, last weekend was Netflix and shish kebab, like different things. This is just the morning. Every Monday lunchtime, we have what I call the weekend wars. I mean, everyone mentions what they did during the weekend. And then we all collectively, as a group, end up talking about the person with the most interesting weekend. No one notices that it's a competition. but I know it's a freaking war. And in my 9 years in the company, I never won that war. Me and Rajesh, we never won that war. Every time I thought I had a great weekend story, I was shot down by Meta, who decided to visit her relatives in New Zealand. Or Louisa, who attended a wedding, sometimes her own wedding. Only in Denmark I saw people getting married during the weekend, then coming back to office on Monday. How can I beat them? Then one day I said, enough is enough. I'm gonna plan the most exciting weekend. So I went to Rajesh. Rajesh, we have to do something. And he goes, no, we're not doing Netflix and shawarma again. No, we have to do something they haven't done before. So we started brainstorming on an Excel sheet. We finally both agreed that it has to be something exciting and dangerous. So we decided to do skydiving. Yeah. I actually did the research. I found the company. I called them. They explained on the phone it's going to be a tandem skydiving. Meaning you're going to be attached to a professional when you jump. So you don't have to do much. And I'm like, great. It's great. And then he said, if you want extra excitement, we can do a 1 minute free fall before the parachute opens. And I'm like, yes. I need a maximum excitement. I need the full package. I need to win this, okay? And then he got like nervous on the phone. If you want to do the free fall, you have to weigh less than 80 kilo. No problem, Rasmus. No problem at all. I don't even think I need a parachute. Right. Even the gravity looks at me. I have nothing to work with. So the day has come. Me and Rajesh, we went to that place in the middle of Sjælland. They gave us some instructions. Then we boarded the plane. I also hired a cameraman who would jump together with us with his GoPro camera on his head so that I have video evidence to show to my colleagues. And we jumped from that plane. I had never been so scared in my life. It was so cold. I almost got nauseous in the air. I almost threw up in the air. And after landing, like my hands were shaking for an hour. I couldn't walk straight. Everyone wanted to see my passport. Then finally Monday morning comes. I come to the office, fully prepared, with a USB stick in my hand. I'm standing next to the coffee machine, waiting for the people to approach me with the question. I told Rajesh, I'm going first, then you can finish them later. I'm waiting, and then suddenly, Charlotte announces that her grandmother died during the weekend. Are you freaking kidding me? Yes. I broke the coffee machine that day. And then during lunchtime, like my skydiving story was kind of ignored. They ended up talking about Charlotte and her grandma, how difficult it was for her the last few days. And I said, well, did she jump from a plane? It's not easy to do a 1 minute free fall, you know? And then Friday came again. They asked me the same question they ask every Friday. What are your plans for the weekend? I said, you know what? I'm gonna do skydiving again. But this time, I'm gonna be attached to my grandma. One of us has to die. I've been in Denmark for 13 years. Yes. Yeah, thank you. And believe it or not, I'm very happy here. 13 years, long time, so I speak pretty good English. My English has improved dramatically. My Danish, on the other hand, it is still suffering from depression. I mean, not that bad, of course. Like, I can order food in Danish, no problem. I never get the same thing I order, but at least it gets there. But Danes are very supportive. You know, I remember when I was just on the module 1, if those of you are taking the Danish classes, like I was speaking like very basic level. Yeah, hele Bek og jeg er fra Uzbekistan, and they would go, no, dit dansk er ret godt. So they were very supportive. And then 10 years later, when I'm talking on the same level, they would still say the same thing, but there would be longer pauses. No? Det danske godt? Nå, klokken 11 skal vi spise. Yeah, but many say that the Danish language doesn't sound so good, you know, great. But I think there are some Danish words that sound very cool to me. Especially dairy products, you know, the milk products. I'll explain. Because they remind me of my karate lessons I took as a kid. When I go to a supermarket and I pass through the dairy section, I get overexcited. You know, I start pronouncing the words aloud. Skål! Smør! Flule! Piske! Flule! Kaffe! Flule! Ost! Is! At this point, they usually call security in NATO. But many words don't sound cool in Danish. Also, the way Danes say the English word cool, I don't know if you have noticed, they say cool, which doesn't sound cool at all. If you say cool, it automatically becomes uncool. I remember I bought a bike and I showed it to my Danish friend. Yes, I have a Danish friend. It was a nice bike, expensive bike. And I told him, what do you think? And he goes, no, cool. Now I have to sell it. You ruined it. But I didn't have to sell it. It was stolen after 1 month. I didn't have to sell it. And many Danish words just sound confusing to me. I remember one day I went to a library and I see a book with the title God Mad. Book titled God Mad. And I'm thinking, why God is mad? And why is this book in the food section? So I took the book, I opened it, and I understood why God is mad. Because it's a book about Danish food. And there are not many incentives to learn Danish here because all Danes, they speak English very well. Pretty well. Even those who say, jeg taler lidt engelsk. No, they don't tell a lidt engelsk. They tell a mega godt engelsk. Okay? And once you try to practice your Danish, they quickly switch to English as soon as they hear some hesitation in your voice. Danes can smell fear in your voice. But once you reach a level when you ask a question in Danish and you get to reply in Danish, you're at the next level. The game is on. Yes. But once you mispronounce the word even slightly, the game is over. But I don't give up. I don't give up. If they don't understand me, I keep repeating the same word over and over again. Every time with slightly different pronunciation, with the hope that I will hit the right vibration. I remember my first job in Denmark, my Danish colleague asked, I just moved to Copenhagen, and he asked, so when Copenhagen do you leave? And I said, Rodovre? And he goes, what? Rodovre? 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 After 5 minutes, he goes, Rodovre. That's what I said. Two years later, I finally moved to a different place, and he asked me again, so where do you live now? Vidovre? 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 Well, so my point is, if your Danish is not good enough, and you just moved to Copenhagen, you have only two options. Either Gentofte or Valby, then no problem. Gentofte is expensive, so you're stuck in Valby. But once your Danish is better, then you can move to other places. When your Danish is really good, you can finally move to Bausvær. And all these 13 years in Denmark, I've been enjoying it, and I tried my best to integrate. No, I eat smørrebrød, and that's it. Oh, of course, I do much more. I eat flæskesteg, I do volunteer work, I don't sit next to strangers in the buses. I'm doing it. I cycle, I recycle, I make fun of Swedes. I'm doing everything. You know, I go to Ulug Focus, I use Reisekort, I get unusually happy every time I see the sun. Like all Danes, I start worshipping the sun. Like, I think it's about the sun a lot. I dream about the sun, I talk about the sun every day. I check the weather app to see if there is the sun. If we have a 1-hour meeting at work, we spend the first 10 minutes talking how much we miss the sun. But if we already see the sun in the window, then we talk about what we're gonna do with all this sun during the weekend. And if we don't see the sun for 3 months, we sacrifice one baby to please our God. Yeah. So, Denmark is an introverted nation. You know, people are generally introverted compared to other nations. Like Uzbekistan is very extroverted people. I'm not a good example. But when I lived in Uzbekistan, we would constantly get visitors in our house. Like relatives, neighbors, strangers, mostly uninvited. But hey, if someone knocks on your door and you didn't expect it, it can mean only one of the two things. PostNord or Jehovah Witnesses. One of them delivers on time. In the past, it used to be 3. The third one was the guy collecting DR media license. Do you remember those? Yeah, they don't come anymore. They all have been killed, I assume. My mama keeps telling me, Beck, you have been in Denmark for a long time. Why don't you get married to a Danish woman? And I'm like, why, Mom? I already have Danish residence permit. Why would I need this? Yeah, and she goes, you have a point. But no, as I said, I have a girlfriend. She's not Danish. She's from Portugal. Yeah. Which is also EU. Yes. And much better weather, so I'm doing very well, thank you. Now I can hear you asking, Beck, what's next in your hugely successful life? You have a girlfriend, you have Danish residence permit, you have one Danish friend, what's next? Well, thank you for asking. While you're thinking this story cannot get any better, it got so much better last year, because last year I got Danish citizenship. Yeah! Yes! And it's great. I love it. It's better than sex. I recommend it. I recommend it. As soon as I got the Danish passport, I showed it to everyone. You know, my friends, relatives, strangers on the street. I showed it to my Danish friend. He looked at it. No, cool. I hope I'm not gonna lose it. To get a citizenship, I have to go through many obstacles, and one of them is the Danish citizenship test. No? And I prepared for it for months, reading the book, memorizing the facts, and I was prepared so well that I answered all the questions correctly except one. And this question sounded like this. When was the first bridge built on the Little Belt? Anyone knows when was the first bridge built on the Little Belt? No, the Lille Belt is like a canal separating Fyn and Jutland. Anyone? No? All right. Well, I didn't know that there are more than one bridges, and I didn't know it's important to know this to integrate into Danish society. But okay. Anyway, I passed it. And also, at the part of the test, I had to study a lot about the politics and the Danish institutions, all the agencies. There are many agencies in Denmark. They all consist of one word, and they all end with Styrelsen at the end. Yeah, actually, pretty simple and efficient. One word only. For example, there's an Environmental Protection Agency. 3 words in English. In Danish, Miljøstyrelsen. Simple and efficient. The Food and Safety Administration. Fødevarestyrelsen. The Agency for Heart Attacks and Strokes. Skattestyrelsen. Yes. Also known as a taxation agency. Yes, it can give you a heart attack. Did you open your Oxford goals yesterday? This is when the majority of heart attacks happen in Denmark. Now people call it scat shortly, which also means darling. Sneaky, kind of sneaky. You know, darling, I love you. Also, give me half of your money. There is another agency that all expats are afraid of. Also, Danes who are married to expats, they're also afraid of it. What is the agency? Yes, Siri and Udlændingsstyrelsen. Both correct, because one was not enough. They have to do 2 of them. Siri, in case you don't know what Siri is, it's basically the one that is dealing with work-related visas, and it's so complicated that they couldn't put in one word, so they had to abbreviate it. So it stands for Styrelsen for International Recruitering or Integration, which is translated to you have to wait at least 6 months. The favorite part of my day is when I tell my iPhone Siri to call Siri. And it works. I just say, hey Siri, call Siri. And it calls Siri. Then I have to wait in line for like half an hour listening to the music. And when I finally connected to the agent, I hang up the phone. Because I'm already a citizen, why would I need this? This was my payback. In a strange way, that was my revenge for all those years. There's also a sister organization, Ulug Bek. Yeah. Have you ever got unexpected letter from Ulug Bek? Yeah. Yes. If it's unexpected, it's always bad news. Yeah. First, you get a notification, SMS notification that you have to check e-box. So your hand is shaking. You're opening e-box. Your heart is pounding, and then you're reading the letter, and it says something. You have to leave the country in 2 weeks. Well, try to catch me. Well, I'm still here. I'm still here legally, and I'm happy. Yeah. Now, and now, after so many years in Denmark, I'm finally starting to get used to the Danish food. Yeah. Except the desserts. I still cannot get used to some desserts, like risalamande. It's basically rice porridge with sugar. Æbleskiver, kind of scammy. There's neither æble nor skiver in æbleskiver. And there's also grød med fløde. It's like red porridge with cream. It's also the phrase that Danes ask foreigners to pronounce to test their Danish pronunciation skills. And it's fair. I do it. I do the best I can. I'm still quite bad at it, but I do my best. Like grød med fløde. I say it. Yeah. I say it, and then I ask them. But do you know when was the first bridge built on the Little Belt? Thank you very much.